Backyard disclosures, there's two reasons not to do them. One, you don't know what you're freaking doing. And you're probably going to have another one, and then another little mini one, and another little mini one. And then she's going to find out something that you didn't say. And that's what we call trickle truth. That's what we call multiple disclosures. That is the worst way to do it. Because then she's going to be like, oh my gosh, I can't freaking trust this guy. The best way to do it, if you want to stay married and save your marriage, the best way to do it is do it all at once. Do it right there. Do it therapeutically. She has a CSAT. You have a CSAT. You guys go into the office. You read her the disclosure. She listens. The therapy team's there for support for the process. You want to do it therapeutically because it's very medical. It's very official. It's very complete. It's a very safe, concise, protected way for her getting the information. I can promise you, out of all the guys in my groups who have done a backyard disclosure on their own without a therapist present, they all regret it. Every single one of them regrets it. And it absolutely it has the potential to significantly delay your marital healing. An episode on full disclosure, full therapeutic disclosure. I have not done an episode on this in a long time, but I have a lot of guys in my program right now. I think I have 4 actively right now working on their disclosures, and they're all asking the same questions. But before I get into that, I want to just summarize for the listeners who are not familiar with what I'm talking about with a full therapeutic disclosure. What is that? So a full therapeutic disclosure, for those of you who don't know, is it's a document that you create with your therapist. A very complete document. Mine was, I think, like 14 pages or something like that. And it's a complete catalog of all of the things you have done sexually, a little bit before the marriage, but primarily in the marriage. And then you read this document to your partner. Now, the pushback that I get always, and I did the same thing. I had the same comments was, what benefit is this going to be? Why all this information is going to do is traumatize my wife. It's going to teach her way too much. She's going to have way too many of these thoughts in her head. She's never going to be able to look at me the same way. And then, of course, the scariest one, she's going to leave me if she hears all this. I'm going to answer a lot of those questions here in just a second. But the first thing I want to say is this process, I am in support of this process. But I also want to empathize a little bit with the guys who are scared of this, because it's going to be a traumatic process for you. It just is. This is a very sensitive, embarrassing, personal part of your life. And you are going to, for most men, they were not seeing their CSAT or therapist prior to disclosure. And now you're literally meeting this therapist and going through this this very personal, embarrassing story. It's traumatic. It just is. It's a rough process. No question about it. It will traumatize you, and you will need to work with your therapist after the disclosure to get past that trauma. It's just very intense. And let's be real here. It's going to be 1,000 times more intense for your wife. Now, that does not mean that your trauma is not real. It does not mean that the disclosure process is not going to be traumatizing for you, and I empathize with you. It's going to suck for sure. Absolutely going to suck. And it's going to suck way more for your wife. So again, I'm not comparing the two of your traumas. I don't think there's any benefit to that, but I just want you to know it's going to be harder for her too. So it's just ugly all around, but I am saying it is going to be hard for you. But I want to get into the pushback here, because a lot of guys are like, why would I do this? What's the benefit to this? Listen, as much as I hate that we have to do it, because it just does suck, it is necessary. Your wife has no idea whether you're being honest or not. She has no idea whether she's safe or not. She has no idea whether she knows everything or not. And that is why this process needs to be done. I mean, I really believe it. I do not think that there is any meaningful repair work that can be done to the marriage until she has the confidence that she knows everything. And it's for a dang good reason. It's this simple. She needs to know it all to decide if she wants to stay with you and if she can forgive you, right? And she can't make that decision until she knows everything. So there's really no relational healing that can happen until she has all the information. And that's fair. You guys understand that, right? Like if you're like, oh, she knows almost everything, but she doesn't know this one thing. That one thing could be a deal breaker. I have guys in my groups who have acted out with their wife's sister. And that information's hard to hear. And yes, sometimes that is a straw that breaks the camel's back, or it's something that she can't get past. And so what she doesn't know, and for some of you, you're like, well, I didn't do that. I hear that, but she doesn't know that you didn't do that, right? The thing about betrayed partners is they assume the worst. They assume the worst. They're going to listen to the podcast. They're going to hear the stories. They're going to join groups and talk to other women who are going through this. And they're going to hear horror stories. And they're going to assume that you've done those things because you can't be trusted, right? And you surprised her the first time. Why wouldn't you surprise her again? Okay. So she really needs to know all of this so she can say, okay, I know everything. Let me sit with it for a week or two. And, no, I think I do want to try to see if we can repair this marriage. Okay. But again, she can't knowledgeably make that until the disclosure is done. Okay. That's just the way it is. So yeah, I'm not happy about it either, but it just is the way it is. And you can ask my wife. My wife will say, yeah, it's not a fun process. I didn't want to go through it. I'm sorry you went through it. And my wife will tell you, there's no way in heck I could have moved forward unless I had that process done. Okay. So to issue one of the biggest questions, right? Guys are always like, well, Roland, if I say all this information, it's going to traumatize her. She's never going to get past it. Both of those things are not true. So yes, is it going to traumatize her? Sure. But everything you already did traumatized her. So her hearing more of this, yes, is it going to add to the trauma? Sure. But I mean, at the same time, like she's already traumatized in the worst way ever, just discovering what she's discovered, right? If anything, it's going to be nice to hear the rest of the crap so she can calm down and stop worrying. Okay. So that's false. And then she's going to leave you. That's also false. Statistics, I can't remember. I think I heard, at least from what I heard now, 84% of couples stay together. So the statistics are actually shockingly in your favor that when you take ownership and you own up to all this stuff, that you actually aren't going to get left by your wife. And it makes sense, right? Like in the end, she's already pissed. She already knows that you have been sexually dishonest and unfaithful, right? There's infidelity, right? And so then when you tell her more infidelity, obviously it's going to piss her off. But in the end, like you lied. You already lied. You already shattered everything about the marriage. So you just getting out the rest of it is, I know in your mind, it's like, oh my gosh, she's going to leave me. In her mind, it's like, dude, you're already a freaking asshole pig. Like, just tell me the rest of it so I can decide if I want to stay with you or not. So to us, it's like, oh no, I can't tell her. I'm telling you. To them, it's just like, just tell me the rest. Like again, I'm not saying it doesn't hurt worse hearing more, but at the same time, like they're already traumatized. They already have their thoughts and opinions about what you have now done and who you are. The additional information, it's really not as damning as you might think. Depending on what you say. I'm not going to say, you might have something in there. You might have something illegal or whatever that you have to disclose, and it's going to really mess with her. So, it's not always the case, but I would say for most guys, they're like, I can't tell her the number. It's like, dude, listen, she's going to want to know anyways, and she's already assuming that number, if not more than that number. So just go tell her. All right. So, the statistics are actually not in your favor that it's going to ruin the marriage. I haven't seen that. I don't think any of the CSATs that I'm friends with have seen that either. The other question that I hear often is, again, why is this necessary? I already answered that. It's necessary because she can't knowledgeably stay with you until she knows all of this. Okay. And then the other one that I hear is about the graphic imagery. Well, I'm going to say this, the disclosure is not going to include graphic detail. Okay, no CSAT is going to encourage that you include what color their hair was, the size of their breasts, blah, blah, blah. Like that is ridiculous. That is traumatizing. So what's going to be requested is the level of detail, right? Dates, times, here's what's typically included. Dates, timestamps, right? They want to know where you were. They want to know who it was with if you repeated doing it with that person. They want to know what level, right? Was it oral sex? Was it manual stimulation? Was it intercourse? They want to know if you wore protection, and then they want to know if you spent money. Okay. And I believe a lot of people are like, man, that sounds insane. I'm like, no, that sounds very normal. Like protection. Why does she want to know that? Because she wants to know how safe she is and and if she has to worry about her health, how much money spent. It's her freaking money too, right? This affects her. How much of the money you spent. That's a very valid question, right? Dates and locations. She's trying to understand when and how the heck this happened. Because if she's going to stay with you, she needs to understand, like, when was he doing all this crap, right? So that in the future, I can be aware of it and I can keep tabs on him. So dates, locations, and she wants to know who it's with and if you repeated it, because again, that matters, right? If you were, with this woman weekly, that matters. You're now, there's some. It does matter if you repeated it versus if it was just a one-time thing, right? So asking those questions are very fair. A lot of guys think like, wow, that's a lot of detail. No, not really, because again, that's all of those things are around safety. Unnecessary details would be like, did you guys have sex here? Did you guys have sex there? And some of those things are fair too, right? Did you do it in our bed, in our bedroom? That's a fair question. That is a fair question, right? Did you bring her in our home? Right? Have our kids ever seen her? Right? Those are like, yes, those are details, but those are fair details because again, they're all assessing safety, right? And she has every right to not like the idea that you slept with somebody in your marital bed, right? That is a very valid question. So that does not classify as too much detail, right? Those things are just gauging how safe am I, when and where the heck did this happen? Now, again, there are details that do not matter. Right. What color were their hair? It's some of that detail is unnecessary because it just doesn't matter. Like knowing her hair color is not going to help you become more safe. That's an irrelevant detail. There are exceptions to some of these things, obviously, as, because we know with process addiction, some guys have process addictions that are very particular. And so there actually may be some details that do need to come forward, because if you have a very, very particular niched compulsive issue, sometimes that some of those details do need to be exposed so that we can regain safety. But remember, the whole goal is safety. I need to understand, if I'm going to stay with you, I need to understand how I can wrap my head around how this is going to happen to me again, which is a very fair question on her behalf. Now, the last question here, the dreaded one, polygraph tests, lie detector tests. This one actually there is some split opinion on this. I would say the most common practice is that there is a polygraph and it is done before disclosure, before you read her the document, so that she knows that document is accurate. The problem with doing it after is, let's say you fail the freaking thing because you left out something. Well, now you just traumatized her twice because you freaking lied again, right? And even if you were trying to be honest, she's going to interpret it as a lie. So get the polygraph done before, that way she can be verified and we won't try. Because if you fail, you can be like, okay, crap, I need to go through and add something here and do it again. But there is one thing I want to comment on with polygraphs. Just to kind of keep people aware of this. There is no centralized certification process for polygraphers. I could literally go down the street to a garage sale and buy one from somebody, and I could start doing polygraphs this evening. Okay. And there'd be nothing stopping me from doing that. Just getting a website, do it. So, we need to be careful because we need to understand this person knows how to use one. Well, the problem is because there's really there's no really formalized certification kind of standard. It's hard to know that. So typically your CSATs are probably going to know. That's usually where I tell people to go, is go talk to your CSAT or call a CSAT. The CSATs are going to know where a good polygrapher can be found, because there's a ton of bad ones. I have heard horror stories. There is this jerk off in freaking Texas who I think everyone's not using him anymore. Thank goodness. He was really popular for a while. He's got a bunch of podcasts out with different people, and a lot of reputable CSATs were using him. I saw it from a mile away. The guy's attitude, I was like, this guy is not safe. This guy's on a freaking witch hunt. And I appreciated his efforts. But there was a ton of questions that he was asking that are ambiguous. They're very gray. A lot of stuff around like fantasy. We cannot polygraph fantasy. No one knows what a fantasy is. Everybody's definition of a fantasy is different. So we cannot polygraph fantasy. That is just inappropriate. It's too gray. It's too murky, and it's going to flaw the accuracy of the test. Right? He was asked a bunch of other questions that were just ambiguous. I mean, which is just so unfair. I'm not going to say the guy's name because I don't like talking about people. But it sounds like no one's really using him anymore, which is good. A polygraph is simple. You create the disclosure document with your CSAT. That CSAT helps you make sure that it's full and complete. Helps keeps you from screwing it up. You take that document and the polygrapher asks you two questions. Now, don't quote me on this because they're they might be different than I'm saying, but basically they ask, to the best of your knowledge, is this disclosure full and complete? Yes or no? And then they ask you a second question. Did you leave anything out with the intent to deceive? Yes or no? 2 questions. And they're going to ask you those, I don't know, I think they're going to ask you those 6 or 7 times just to kind of crunch their numbers and create data to get make sure they're getting the best result. But that is it. It is those 2 questions. It is not, you are not going in there and they're not asking you, did you or did you not go to this hotel on this day? Did you or did you not ever go to the beach together? Did you or did you not ever hold hands together? That is statistically how polygraphs become very, very, very unreliable. They need to be black and white, yes or no questions. And the best way to do that is saying, this document, did you and your CSET do this completely to the request of the agreed plan? And then did you leave anything out with the intent to deceive? But between those 2 questions, we can, with pretty high level of accuracy and a safe level, because again, this isn't just about getting the full and complete truth out to your wife. This is also making sure that you pass the freaking test and that it's fair, because these things are not perfect, right? They're not perfect. And so they need to be done well. Now, when they're done well, they actually have a pretty stinking good level of accuracy, but they need to be done well by a person who knows what they're doing. And your CSATs are going to know who those reliable polygraphers are. But I do want to put that up there because every year I have 2 or 3 clients who see a horrible polygrapher. There are a lot of, because there's no certifications, they'll be in there judging you or like having like a freaking therapy session in there talking about, oh yeah, I've worked with guys like this and that. Like, that is so inappropriate. That is incredibly inappropriate. It actually violates a good polygraph, right? I had a really great one who did mine, and all we did was talk about sports, and it was because the whole goal is to make you calm before they administer the test, right? And I was in there for, I don't know, hour and a half of just talking, having a nice, getting to know each other. And then he's like, all right, let's do this thing. And then he showed me the document that my CSAT sent him, right? That way I couldn't tamper with it. And asked me the 2 questions, asked me them 6 times, and that was it. So I do like to say that because that is, a lot of the betrayed partners think that they're going to be able to just like send this list of a bajillion questions. And no, for multiple reasons. But the main one being, that's not how they work. That's not, you can't write questions. But the polygraphs, they're hard to make accurate, and the only way to make them accurate is if a trained polygrapher, somebody who knows what they're trained. I say trained like there's a freaking training, but somebody who knows what they're doing writes the question so that there's no ambiguity and no gray. And the problem is, betrayed partners, like, those questions just are not well written. There's a lot of problems in the wording there, and you can't ask such questions. That's just not how it works. It's 2 questions. It's on the accuracy and the completeness of the disclosure document. So again, to wrap all this up, why did I do this episode? It's in your best interest. It is, you guys. It's a process that it's the best thing that we have to make sure that they know everything. And yes, it's traumatic for you. And yes, it's insanely traumatic for her. And it's just not fun for anybody. It's painful to watch as a therapist. It's just hard. It's hard all around for everybody, and it sucks. But at the same time, what sucks more is her wondering if she knows everything and having your marital healing basically frozen in time and unable to move past because she doesn't necessarily know for sure that there's not more. Okay, so that's why we do them. Again, I'm not a huge fan of them, but I did one, and at this time, until we have some advancements in technology, I think they're necessary. I really do. And I advocate for them depending. Now, another thing I want to say is, if your wife doesn't want one, don't get one, and do not let your therapist gaslight you into freaking getting one. That's none of their freaking business. If your wife doesn't want one, don't do one. And if your wife doesn't want a polygraph, don't do a polygraph. Right? Again, this is, if she doesn't see value in it, I would still encourage you to do this disclosure document with your therapist, even if you're not going to read it to your wife, because it's really good for you to see everything that you did and all the details of it. It's a great process for us to like really face everything that we've done. It's really helpful. It's really eye-opening. It's like, oh my gosh, can't believe all this, right? So it's still a worthwhile exercise. But yeah, don't let your therapy team force your wife to get one. That's inappropriate. And if she doesn't want one, and if she's like, I don't need a polygraph, then you don't need to get them. Do not let people force you to do it. It's only necessary if it's necessary. But again, for the guys, I would encourage all of you guys to go ahead and go through the process. It's very eye-opening and it's kind of a slap in the face to kind of like a wake-up call, if you will. There was one other thing I was going to add. The when it comes to partners making this request, again, guys, it's they're just trying to become safe. And the fact of the matter is, the cat's out of the bag. Okay. There's podcasts like this podcast all over the internet about disclosure and polygraph, and they're going to find out about them and they're going to want one. So I would encourage all of you guys to initiate this process rather than having them find out about it and them initiate it. Because again, that's just more like, hey, he was hoping to get away with this stuff. Whereas if you can say, hey, there's this full therapeutic disclosure process, I would like to do it. If you would find it helpful. If it's not helpful, then we don't have to do it. But if you would like to find it helpful, I want to give you the confidence and peace of mind that you know everything that happened in this marriage, because you deserve that, right? I encourage all of you guys to be the ones to bring this up rather than her bringing it up. Because again, when they have to keep bringing this stuff up, to them, they're thinking, man, this guy was just trying to get away with everything, right? It's always nice if we can take initiative and show that we're trying to be honest. Okay, so if you guys have any questions on this, you're welcome to email me, roland@successfuladdict.com. This is a very gnarly process, but yeah, you can email me any kind of recommendations. They do have disclosure intensives where you guys can actually fly to a place and do the disclosure. You fly there for, 5 days or a week or something like that. And you actually do, there's some pre-work that's done, but you actually do the disclosure there. It's done right. I have some trusted friends who I really trust to do a disclosure well. So if you guys want to know that, I've also seen a ton of disclosures gone horribly wrong. Way too many of them, way too many of them. I would say 20% of them are done really poorly, really poorly. That was the last thing I wanted to say. Why do it therapeutically? Why not do what we call a backyard disclosure? Why not just tell her everything? Because you're going to forget stuff. You're going to say stuff. You're going to say stuff in a way that's not necessarily accurate, not on purpose, but just by accident. You're gonna leave something out by accident. She's gonna ask you a question. It might not even be your fault. She might ask you the question just wrong, and then you're gonna answer honestly, but it was incomplete because it wasn't really what she wanted to know, and it was all by accident. But the point is, backyard disclosures, there's two reasons not to do them. One, you don't know what you're freaking doing, and you're probably gonna have another one, and then another little mini one, and another little mini one, and then she's going to find out something that you didn't say, and that's what we call trickle truth. That's what we call multiple disclosures. That is the worst way to do it, because then she's going to be like, oh my gosh, I can't freaking trust this guy. The best way to do it, if you want to stay married and save your marriage, the best way to do it is do it all at once. Do it right there. Do it therapeutically. She has a CSAT. You have a CSAT. You might even have a third CSAT, a couple CSAT. All three of those CSATs are there. You guys go into the office, you read her the disclosure, she listens, the therapy team's there for support for the process, and then you guys either go home together or go to a hotel and she goes home and you stay there for a day or two and then come back, etc. But you want to do it therapeutically because it's very medical, it's very official, it's very complete, and it's a very safe, concise, protected way for her getting the information without having anything done wrong, without having any worded incorrectly. It also is a protection for you guys because she can lose her freaking mind through this process. I mean, when hearing all this information, she's not going to be thinking straight. And so do you really want to be reading her all of this stuff when she's losing her marbles? Right? Because of everything you freaking done and all, how you've just wrecked the family and the marriage. No, that's not great either. So do it in a therapist's office, please. Please. I can promise you, out of all the guys in my groups who have done a backyard disclosure on their own without a therapist present, they all regret it. Every single one of them regrets it. And it absolutely it has the potential to significantly delay your marital healing. Right. So do it therapeutically if you can, please. Trust me on that one. You won't regret it. So again, any questions on disclosure? It's a very sensitive thing. There's a lot of concerns about it on both sides. So if you guys have any questions about that, you're welcome to reach out to me and I can kind of introduce you to some of my colleagues who I trust to do it well.